guys, we are here at Wesco Tractors and Equipment, my local Kubota dealer, and they are also a Cormidi dealership. If you guys been watching the channel for a while, remember I had the Cormidi mini skid steer on for a while and then it kind of went away, but as you can see right there, we got a new one sitting there and it should be coming home with us today. There we have it, guys. The new Cormidi C1500 Spec 2. It's loaded on the Dude Ranch DIY trailer, and we are going to be headed back to the Dude Ranch. So stay tuned for a little bit of action here in just a second. Alright guys, this is, as I said before, the Cormidi C1500 mini skid steer. I had one of these on the channel probably almost about 2 years ago, and I have one again. So we're going to have this for the foreseeable future, and I still have the grapple that I had with the original one. We have the bucket, and we should be getting a set of pallet forks in the next couple of days for it. So I'm really excited. Now, this mini skid steer, I'm not going to go super in depth on it, but it's different than most other mini skid steers. Yes, it has tracks. Yes, it has a loader. It has, you know, all different functions and everything. But what makes this thing different than all other mini skid steers is that this whole loader can come off. And say you're a mason and you need to move material through a small gate from the front yard to the backyard. You can put on a self-loading dump truck. You could put on a cement mixer. You could put on a flatbed. If you're an arborist, you could put on a spider lift. The sky's the limit with these things, and it really makes it a lot different than all of your Ditch Witch, Toro Dingos, Vermeers, all the Bobcats, the Kubotas, because this thing truly is modular. Not only can you change what goes on the front loader, but you can change what the entire machine is itself, in and of itself. This is the C1500, which stands for a roughly, it has a 1,500 pound lift capacity, which is a lot more than most of the other mini skid steers you'll see on the market. It has a fairly small footprint given its lift capacity, and I think this thing comes in at around 3,000 pounds. So today, Chris and I are going to be using it probably to just aid and facilitate in making some firewood, probably loading up the processor or something along those lines, maybe doing a little clean out underneath the processor because it's about packed to the gills. But we're just super excited to have it, and if there's any questions that you have on it, put it down in the comment section below, and in the future we can maybe do a more in-depth kind of walk around on the machine once I see what type of feedback and questions you guys have. If you're interested in these things, head on over to CormidiUSA.com. I will put a link down in the description. You can get in touch with your local dealer and find out all the information to your heart's content. All right, guys, now that we got the brute force 1424 Firewood processor all cleaned out underneath, we are ready to set up another bag over here, one of the log lift bags, courtesy of AJ Shaver at shaverequipment.com. But today, now that we have the Cormidi, I think it would make the most sense to throw the Grapple on the Cormidi and use this machine to load up the logs, since we are a little pressed for space here, since while I was away, my tree service buddy dropped off 3 loads of cherry, at least 3 loads. I got through most of one of the loads yesterday. It was kind of sitting here, but it was kind of difficult using the pallet forks for one, and just the length of the tractor here maneuvering was a bit tight. So I think utilizing the pallet forks to move the log lift bags and the Cormidi with the Grapple to load the live deck of the processor, I think we should be in good shape. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be cool to actually run the Cormidi again. Just hopping on it to move it as far as I did, it's very jerky. I'm not used to it anymore.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be like riding a bike. Adam, the guy over at Wesco, he said, get 10 minutes and you'll be a professional again. So I'm not too worried about it. Let's throw on the Grapple. Push it forward. Drive forward and it'll straighten it out. Yeah, good. More. Good. Just like that, we got the Grapple hooked up. We are ready to rock and roll. Oh yeah. All right, now you haven't run the processor at all, right?
Not since the show.
And you haven't, this way, with the log lift facing out. And you haven't really used these bags at all either, huh?
No, not at all.
So, between the Cormidi, the bags, and the processor, we got 3 new things for you to try here. So we'll have to play with them all. As you can see, guys, just setting up these log lift bags is basically just as easy as that. The one thing I like to do is take 4 or 5 pieces of wood and just throw them down in the corners to kind of spread out the bag. And just like that, we're ready to go. So I'm gonna hop on the Cormidi and we'll load up some logs on the live deck. And I think Chris will try his hand at running the processor for the first time.
So I noticed at the show, they were running the bag's rear handles kind of over the corners.
Oh yeah?
I don't know if that's just because that's the way that they do it, or if they find issues of the bag sliding forward. Have you noticed any difference?
I have not. I have not been running them over the corners, but I have found that it's good to try and center the conveyor with the center of the bag, kind of like this. And then once it's, open and on the rack, the wood just kind of spreads it out and it fills it itself. It's a lot less labor intensive than the IBC totes trying to get them stacked up evenly. It takes a little bit more work on the front end setting up the bag, but not all that much. I mean, as you guys can see, so it's kind of a trade-off. All right, guys, that's a wrap. We got 2 full log lift bags, and I just got a call from the police department saying that we got a tree down. So Chris and I got to head into work. But just quickly, what are your thoughts on both the Cormidi and the brute force processor, and I guess the log lift bags, because these were all new to you?
So far, the Cormidi is proven to be a great machine. Missed having it for a while there, but yeah, Cormidi machine's doing exactly what we needed it to do. It's kind of tearing up the millings, but that's to be expected with a tracked machine. The brute force 1424, animal of a splitter. I do like that everything is at a reasonable, like, ergonomic level, I guess you can call it, and the easeability of taking those larger pieces and re-splitting them rather than having to chase them down later down the line.
Yeah, all the controls are right there at your fingertips. They're a good height for me, and I'm glad to hear that they're good height for you, being that you're a little bit taller. And the open splitting chamber is just a game changer on this thing, you know, compared to some of the other processors at, you know, of this size. This thing, one, does a lot larger diameter wood. As you can see, we got a big cherry piece there for next time. But the whole fact that it's just open, you can just flip the pieces back in. What do you think about the log lift bags?
Log lift bags fill in really quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it has something to do with the splitter that it's paired to with. But I think it works just as good, if not better, than the totes, because we don't have to remove the bladder, cut the bladder, dispose of the bladder,
right,
cut the crate, you know, restack inside the crate or level things out as it's coming off of the conveyor.
Yeah, it's almost like worth the cost of the bag is, you know, the ease of the use. The one thing I'm curious about is to see how many seasons they will hold up.
Yeah, that'll be the only question for me, is how reusable they actually are, because we can get a lot of uses out of these IBC tote crates, but if we're only able to get 1 or 2 uses out of a log lift bag, it might not really offset the cost of actually having to buy the IBC crates, should we have to buy them down the line. Right. So that's something to keep in mind. So guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. Again, this was just an intro kind of to the Cormidi, introducing Chris to all 3 of these things, and reintroducing myself to this great little mini skid steer. I'm super excited to have it. It's been a long time coming. A big shout out to Adam at Cormidi USA and Wesco Incorporated here in Norwalk, Connecticut. They're my local dealer, and he hooked me up with this thing. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the Cormidi, head on over to CormidiUSA.com. I'll put a link down in the description. If you're interested in either the log lift bags back there or the brute force lineup of firewood processors, log splitters, firewood bundlers, and log grapples, also I think they make disc cleaners, head on over to AJ Shaver's website. That's shaverequipment.com, I think, or shaversales. I'll put the link down in the description. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He also has a full line of the split force processors, which are the vertical self-powered machines. So go and check all that stuff out. Hope you guys enjoyed. We got plenty more content coming for you in the near future. So if you liked the video, give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, click that subscribe button down below. We'd really appreciate it. Any questions, comments, or feedback, throw it down in that comment section. But for now, I'm Jake. And I'm Chris.
This is Dude Ranch DIY. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you here next time.